As Stephanie mentioned that today is a very good day here in Jakarta, Indonesia, but now we are connected to Indonesian diaspora in Perth, Australia to share about his Ramadan activity. And this is actually his first time fasting abroad, and will be celebrating Idul Fitri apart from the family. So, hello, Fabian Sheska.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Good
morning. Thank you for
morning.
joining us in this very morning. I believe that it's also still like 9 a.m. over there. So, how are you?
Feeling very sleepy, but I'm happy that you welcomed me on the show.
So, let's go to the first question. How do you adapt your sahur and iftar meals during Ramadan there in Perth, Western Australia? And do you prepare your own dishes for sahur and iftar? And also, do you prepare yourself to wake up for sahur?
Um, I do prepare myself a lot because the times are different and sahur is very early in the morning. And I find myself, thankfully, I am very easy to wake up, but I try and cook for myself because I would like to save as much money as possible. But I would also like to try to make Indonesian food, but I myself struggle to do so.
Fabian, I heard that this is your first time for Ramadan in Australia. So please let us know your experience, how different it is from being apart from your family, being away from your family.
Ramadan itself is not very different to Indonesia's because the Indonesian Muslim community is actually very big here. And there's also a Muslim community. So it's not that different because it's just a result of the melting pot of different cultures blending in together. And away from my family is, well, it's quite jarring.
that, that is quite jarring, it is. But how long do you typically spend like for preparing and engaging in communal prayer or Ramadan related gatherings there? Are there many activities that you can do with the Muslim community there in Perth?
For Ramadan, there's in my university at least, it's also hosted by the Western Australia Muslim community, where they host a daily iftar, and it is hosted at the University of Western Australia, and it is held daily, and everyone is invited, but mostly it's specifically for students as well. And I myself, though, do not attend Traweh very often because it is actually very late at night. It is at 9 o'clock. Comparatively to Indonesia, at least, it's quite late.
Right. Fabian, also as a student and being apart from your family, you also mentioned that you actually prepared or cooked your meals there. So please let us know, what do you cook actually for preparing your breakfasting?
Actually, yeah, I don't cook that many Indonesian dishes, like I said before, and it's a bit difficult for me to adapt here because I try and find halal ingredients as much as possible. And thankfully, there are halal grocers, and I do cook for myself a lot. I usually use chicken or the ones that are provided in the Muslim groceries.
So if we're talking about dishes and there are some specific Ramadan dishes, do you miss any specific Ramadan or iftar dishes from Indonesia that you cannot find there or you cannot cook there?
That is very, very, a very good question because I do miss a lot of the um, fried foods from Indonesia. I miss the pempek, tahu, although I can cook the tofu, I am not very good at it. I'm not very good at frying foods. And I also miss, well, the rice here comparatively to Indonesia is actually worse.
Oh,
Oh,
doesn't miss Indonesian cuisine food,
yeah.
right?
And how about martabak? You must be missing
Oh,
martabak
you
as
must be
well.
missing it a lot. Oh, by the way, what do you do?
Martabak is, yeah,
So,
very.
Fabian, tell us more on what do you normally do for ngabuburit? Like in Indonesia, normally people go going for shopping centers or going to hang with their friends in Indonesia. But what about in Perth, Australia?
Well, thankfully, I am also occupied by classes, so I at least have that. But in terms of just normally, well, sometimes I recently find myself watching movies a lot. I recently watched a movie in the theater, and sometimes I also call with my friends when they are free or at around 3 o'clock.
So that's one of the activities that you do during ngabuburit and to catch up with your friends and your families in Indonesia. How do you also manage to do it to uh, keep in touch with your family and friends, especially during this Ramadan? Do you often do it like every day, like during iftar or sahur?
Well, I try to keep contact a lot because it's the time zone is not actually a significant difference. It is comparable to Bali's, so it's not very difficult for me, thankfully. But I usually communicate with them during iftar. My mom usually calls me at iftar, and I usually call my friends before buka if I'm not doing anything, if there are no social events happening around me.
Now, with a cultural difference there in Australia, we would like to know if you incorporate any local Ramadan there in Perth.
I myself do not because I don't exactly, it's kind of hard to define what local is because I can't really compare to what it is here because I see a little bit of how Indonesia celebrates their Ramadan here as well, but that's probably because most of the Muslim community is just a lot of different cultures from there are Saudi Arabians, there are Pakistanis, and so it's all just a melting pot of very different cultures, and it's hard to tell the difference.
So if we're talking about challenges, especially this is your first year doing this fasting abroad and we'll be celebrating Eid al-Fitr away from your family for the first time, what do you think the challenges that you've been experiencing the most for these past weeks?
The biggest challenge is honestly a daily challenge, even without Ramadan, and that's finding the halal foods because even though there are a lot of restaurants that provide them, there are also ingredients that are usually halal in Indonesia, but I have to take in special considerations here. And the only halal or Muslim owned grocers are at least 50 minutes away from me.
Okay. And do you find it challenging actually to kind of like explain to your friends or colleagues there who don't really know that you are currently fasting or in Ramadan?
Well, I don't really find it difficult. Recently, actually, in one of my classes, we had an activity where we had to use chocolate bars as a analogy, and unfortunately, I could not eat the chocolate bar during that day, so I had to give it to one of my colleagues, and they were like, "Why can't you just eat it?" So I had to explain to them because, to me at least, I don't necessarily look Muslim.
Right. All right.
So what are your plan later on Eid al-Fitr?
Um, Minimal plans. I don't really have any plans right now. I just do everything that's needed during Idul Fitri, and I'll just do that at least.
Well, at least if you get a THR later, it will go straight to your saving accounts.
Good. Thank you.
Well, okay. Thank you so much, Fabienne, for joining us on Starting Point today.
Thank you, Fabienne, for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with your study and happy Ramadan.
Have a blessed day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day to the both of you too.
Thank you very much. So next we will actually connect it to Nabila, who is currently stay in Turkey.
Yes.
We will talk about how she actually spends Ramadan there. And we're now connected with Chaya Nabila. Chaya Nabila, can you hear us? How are you? Thank you for joining us here on TVRI World. Chaya, we would like to know your experience for fasting or Ramadan there in Turkey. How is it different from Indonesia?
To be honest, Ramadan in Turkey hits different from Indonesia because in Turkey we can find like takjil bazaar in the afternoon, and of course we can gather with our family as we live far away from them.
Also, there's also a takjil war in Turkey.
Wow.
No, there is no.
There's no takjil.
Okay. You can find it.
Oh, you cannot find it. Okay, but how is it? How does it feel to be fasting in a majority Muslim country? Is it almost the same with Indonesia? Like at least the vibe, so you don't really feel that much difference and far from home.
Actually, it is almost the same with Indonesia, which Turkey is a country with Muslim majority. So then, I feel like in Indonesia, I feel like this is my home.
That's
Not too many
nice.
different.
Yeah, that's very nice because you don't find it really challenging to be there. But what about the time zone difference? If there is any challenges that you find it difficult adapting for sahur, for example, or breakfasting?
To be honest, I don't find too much challenge here. But maybe for suhoor, I usually wake up at 4 o'clock and it ends at 5:30, depending the season. And now Ramadan happens in spring season, which is still the temperature is still cold. So then I do fasting for 7 hours a day. 13 hours a day.
Oh, okay. So it really not much of a difference with Indonesia actually, but with the cold temperature, maybe it's kind of better.
Yeah.
The feelings. But you mentioned about the food also there in Turkey. Even though it's not really a difference with Indonesia, like the vibe, the feelings, fasting in a Muslim majority country. But how about the food? Do you miss Indonesian food for iftar and sahur, or you're used to eating Middle Eastern food, Turkish food, especially the dessert, Turkish dessert for iftar?
Of course, I miss Indonesian food, but actually, thankfully for iftar, usually we get rice, meat, and vegetable. So then the taste, me as an Indonesian, I can accept the taste.
So not
It's delicious.
much really different between the delicacies or the cuisine for Indonesia and Turkey, I believe. And if you can tell us more about your experience on your Ramadan daily routine. So what do you normally do to prepare the sahur, and what do you do normally to prepare your breakfasting?
For sahur, I cook for myself. I prepare sahur for myself by cook such as easy made, easy make, easy cooked food like maybe scrambled egg or chicken nugget. But during iftar, I and my housemates we cook together and cook better foods because we have longer preparation time for making like soto or maybe fried chicken with sambal like that.
Okay, with the similarities and also the differences between Indonesia and Turkey, do you incorporate any local Ramadan customs into your practices? And how long do these local traditions last during the month, usually?
No, I don't. Because in Indonesia, I always perform Tarawih prayer at the mosque, but here I prefer to perform my Tarawih prayer in my house with my housemates because during the nights the temperature is still cold or even colder, so then we prefer to do Tarawih in our house in order to keep our body safe and healthy.
Okay. With 4 hours different time zone with Indonesia, so how do you actually stay connected with your family in Indonesia during this Ramadan month?
Uh, I perform video call with my parents and my little brother, usually after my suhoor or maybe in the evening. So then in Indonesia, it's night. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks to technology that we can still be connected with our families even though we are far away from them.
Yeah, it's a question that we haven't asked you. How long have you been living in Turkey, and it's not your first time spending Ramadan in Turkey?
Yeah, this is my fourth year in Turkey, which means this is the my fourth Ramadan in Turkey.
Wow, so you're used with the Ramadan being away from Indonesia. So please also tell us if there's any events, Ramadan events that you are currently attending or going to attend.
Um, in my city, there is like a humanitarian community which provide free iftar for anyone who wants. Of course, by predetermined quota. And also our Indonesian student community, we called by PPI, we held iftar gathering once in Ramadan. This event being such a mandatory thing we should do once in Ramadan.
Right.
Right. You mentioned about Tarawih prayers, but how about any other spiritual practices that usually being done in during Ramadan, and that you are living in Turkey? I believe the mosque. How about like the vibe? Like, is it packed every day for Tarawih and for the Quran reading lectures? Even like for all communities, not only for Indonesians in general?
Usually I spend 1 hour for Quran reading for my daily, 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes after my Tarawih prayer. Um, and sometimes, not so often, maybe in this Ramadan, twice or thrice a month, uh, what we called before by humanitarian community held a big iftar for international students in my city. So then I decided to follow the event.
All right, that's very interesting. And as our last questions, we would like to know your plan for the Idul Fitri coming.
Actually, I don't have any plan. Maybe just performing it prayer. So after that, we go back home exactly, and maybe cooking opor together with my housemate.
No ketupat there in Turkey?
You must be missing
No,
it.
we can find it. We cannot find it.
Well, even though there's no ketupat, but we really wish you a very blessed Ramadan ahead and also Idul Fitri, even though it's far from your family, but hopefully your heart's still full with it.
Thank you.
Chaya Nabila, thank you once again for your time, for sharing your stories with us on TVRI World. And after the break, we still have many interesting stories to share with you. So please stay with us on Starting Point. We'll be back soon.